Texas is moving forward with their explicit, obvious, transparent ploy to try to rig the midterms for Donald Trump, to save him from the inevitable issues he was going to have in getting people to support him and his party after failing and failing and failing. They don't want a democracy. They never did. They tried to overturn it in 2020. And so Texas is doing their gerrymandering, their extreme gerrymandering. They have passed in the Texas House this new map, 88 to 52. And you can see right here sort of the difference in what we expect the different districts to break down to. And so it is likely that something like 4, 5, maybe 6 additional congressional districts will go the Republicans' way. And isn't this a fun time at a democracy where wild swing in representation, having nothing whatsoever to do with the popularity of either of the parties, their positions, their policies, the things that they've passed, the things they've either said or done, stood for or not, none of that has anything to do with any of this. They've just decided we'd like more seats. We know this midterm is probably going to be really tough, so we're just going to make the voters as irrelevant as possible, and that's what they've done. And they're not even hiding what the point of this is. You know, in the past, they do their gerrymandering to like screw over black voters or something, and they'd be like, no, this is what the machine came up with. Now they're just saying, this is a Republican state representative. The underlying goal of this plan is straightforward: improve Republican political performance. According to the Supreme Court, we can use political performance in drawing congressional districts, and that is what we've done. Now look, he could be slightly more obvious and say, I don't want to have to try to persuade voters. It's really hard and they don't like us much. You could say that this is just stealing seats. He doesn't want to be that honest necessarily. But he's right. If the Supreme Court believes that you can use advanced computer modeling to just choose your voters, and you don't even have to pretend that it's for anything other than you'd like the seats, you'd like to take as many as possible, then that's what they're gonna do. And that's what they're doing. And it's moving forward. There was a protest, and so let's show a shot of the protest. I love this. I love when people try to get involved. Unfortunately, these are good, passionate Texans who believe that they live in a democracy, and they believe that protest has anything more to do with the results of elections than, I don't know, previously where you lived did. Now they'll figure it out. And so I want those sorts of people to determine the outcome of an election. But unfortunately, it was people on the other side of the door that was closed, blocking their voices from coming in. It's Republicans who they don't want a democracy. They never have. They want to replace it with something else. And unfortunately, way too many other voters are perfectly fine with that. So with that said, what do you think?
Yeah, well, of course they're moving forward with this, and it's sort of dumb that they are doing this at this point, because they know that the Democratic states are ready and willing and waiting to retaliate as soon as they do this. So we're seeing kind of like a war of attrition here, like it's just going to keep going back and forth, and it's going to be very exhausting for everyone involved. And by everyone involved, I mean all of us, right? All of the American voters who are having to witness what is going on in our states. And the states themselves are not going to solve this, right? This has to come from some kind of federal legislation where we actually have nonpartisan districting and line drawing and things like that. And the states cannot be trusted to do this. Governor Abbott, though, at this point, he kind of doesn't seem to have much of a choice anymore. He can't really go back on anything now because he already promised Trump that he would do this for Trump. It's kind of embarrassing for him. It's kind of sad. But even Georgia stood up to Trump when he asked them to find him more votes. Texas Republicans have much less of a backbone. And yes, as a Texas voter, this is infuriating. And I just want to remind people that Texas was already heavily gerrymandered, one of the most gerrymandered states in the nation prior to all of this. So this is extra ridiculous. And I also want to remind people that it wasn't that long ago that Texas was not this like dark, deep red Republican bloc. Just like I think since the 90s and into the 2000s, it was competitive between Republicans and Democrats. But every time the Republicans get into office, then they solidify their hold on power even further. And that is exactly what you are seeing happening right now. Other times it is less obvious than what they're doing now. There's a lot of voter suppression that happens here in this state. Things that Texans are kind of just used to at this point, especially Democratic voters who live in, these big blue Democratic metropolitan areas, because those are the areas that typically get targeted, especially during election times. But we're kind of used to it, and we shouldn't be, because it is ridiculous and it should be unacceptable. And I love
Yeah.
seeing that people are out there protesting against what's happening.
Yeah, and to be clear, when you say like hard red in result, I
In
mean,
result,
even now, it's not. It's not Oklahoma. It's not Utah. It's not Mississippi or whatever.
yeah.
It's like 55-45 in the presidential elections. Ted Cruz barely won re-election.
Mhm.
The people of Texas are very split, nearly evenly split between Democrats and Republicans. It's just that the Republicans, in the same way that they're further rigging this, have already thoroughly rigged the legislature, and thus they can again, you steal at the lower levels, and then that allows you to steal at the higher levels too. And some of this, it isn't specific to like the party or specific to this decade or even century. I mean, the way that the Senate is constituted, the way the Electoral College is constituted, the fact that unnaturally and unfairly advantages the Republicans, who have a bunch of states where barely any people live, that makes it easier for them to win the presidency, which therefore makes it easier for them to have more influence on the Supreme Court than they've actually earned. All of these things accrue. Our democracy is under more threat than it was before, but it's never been fair. It's never been fully realized. It's never been a true democracy.